Good evening, peepers. This is Jeepers, and let's just bunny hop into this one, shall we? This thing is watching me. I've just witnessed something so horrifying that I'm still shaking even now as I try to type this. I live in a gated apartment complex that is well lit at night. Everything is peaceful and usually nothing out of the ordinary happens. Disturbances are rare, at least regular disturbances. There is one odd thing I noticed about a week or so ago. There are lamps on the sides of this building across from us that light up during twilight and stay lit throughout the night. Though there is one that seems to be faulty. I wouldn't have noticed this if I hadn't seen it dim and then go dark myself while I was out on the balcony smoking a few nights ago. I'm usually up late in my office, watching videos or working until dawn breaks. I keep the opposite of a normal schedule, but it is what I prefer, working from home. I usually take a break every hour or so to smoke out on my balcony. When the light went out, just as I mentioned before, I thought it was odd. Maybe the wiring was bad, or it just died, or maybe it malfunctioned in some other way. Then I kept thinking about how at the end of that row of balconies, which was diagonal across the parking lot from mine, it was never lit. In fact, I didn't know there was ever a light there in the first place. It is the far left balcony, on the second and topmost floor of that section of units. The lights are evenly placed between balconies, and were always lit at night, to act as street lamps for the residents. I then swore to myself that the light was never on, as I often saw residents smoking on that same balcony at the same time as me, not too long ago. I remember they were wearing black, but I could see their silhouette leaning on the balcony railing. I also remember seeing the flick of a lighter. I can also recall a different time seeing what I assumed to be the same person pacing around the balcony. But there was never a light. I shrugged it off and thought to myself that I was obviously overthinking this way too much, and I was already finished with my smoke break anyways. I put it out and went back inside. It wasn't weird to me then, and I forgot all about the occurrence until tonight. Tonight is when it happened again. I went out there at maybe 9 p.m. The sun was barely gone. I wasn't even looking in the direction of the light. But in my peripheral, I began to see something fade. I looked, and the same light was slowly dying. I was left with that same weird feeling again. Now, I'm not a superstitious person, for the most part, but if I see something weird happen more than once, I begin to wonder if it even is just a coincidence. I was still staring, taking the last few drags off my cigarette. I thought I might inform management that one of the lights was going out, or whatever, and they could just figure out the issue. If I did, it would have to be tomorrow. I then looked down at my car below me. It is parked under the carport directly below my balcony. The roof was right in front of me, at nearly foot level. I remember I had forgotten to bring the drinks I left in my trunk inside, but I was too lazy to go downstairs and retrieve them. I headed back inside and continued with my night. It wasn't until my next smoke break, not a half hour ago, that I saw it. When I emerged from my door, I saw it standing there, on the top of the carport in front of me, with its arms at its sides. They hung down at an unnatural angle, not touching its form. It was a humanoid thing, but clearly it was not human. Completely black in nature, with no face, and unmoving. In comparison to the darkness of the night, it looked like a void. An unnatural void just standing there. It appeared as if it was looking my way, but it had no eyes or any other distinguishable features for that matter. I felt chilled, physically but also out of pure fear. I knew it was focusing on me, fixating on me, and it was maybe around 10 feet away from me. I was paralyzed for some time, and then every other light lining the unit started to dim. I felt imminent fear knowing that the darkness would soon collapse around me, and I would be left all alone with whatever this thing was in front of me. I then heard a hiss as I snapped out of my shock and quickly ran inside, slamming the door and locking it. I'm in my office now, and will remain here until I see the sunlight seeping through my blinds. I don't know what I saw, but it's obviously fixated on me. It wants me, and I can feel it. It's not a person, and I also don't know why it stood there and didn't pursue me. Maybe it was just watching? I will try and write an update, but I'm hoping I don't encounter this thing ever again. That being said, I still feel as if there's something else here with me. That is all for this evening, peepers. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, leave your thoughts and prayers. I'm about to die. I'm going to sleep. Anyways, if you enjoyed that spooky tale, make sure to kamikaze that like button. Shish kebab it. Stay safe. Don't stay out late. And remember to always be kind, my fellow creeps. Jesus. Anyways, I will see you all in the next video. Bye now.